Hello, lovelies. I've just been running in the rain. I'm just going to tag my husband. I've never done that before. And I'm about to do a client session, but I thought I'd come back on here. I'm so excited. I bought new. I was like really over it the other day. I was so tired. I stopped all my work and I asked a friend of mine who's on my team to come shopping with me. Hey, Sophie. I just wanted to come on here and talk. I like talking. And I got these pink cushions and yeah, I just set up my little ashrami shrine thing here. And I just wanted to reach out and say we are sitting, I believe from my heart that we are sitting at an incredibly pivotal time. We're coming up to, hey, I came back again. Just did my sensuality video, all about sensuality and sexuality and growing our empires from deep femme power, no longer sacrificing ourselves, no longer over carrying, compensating, things that have come up in my marriage. So if you want to watch that video, I shared some of the core things that I'm doing to really radically change how I run my company as we're growing, as I want to reach more people. It makes me quite emotional. Sometimes it catches me off guard. Just how much sometimes I've allowed myself, the amount of work, the amount of kind of carrying to some degree. And there's no blame on anybody else. I do that to myself, and that's been set up by my conditioning, by my childhood, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm just releasing that and allowing myself to have a more deeper honoring and receiving. But when I really wanted to talk today, I've been downloading a lot of information and I've been doing this work for some time now, but the real femme, from my point of view, the femme money diva era is it's conscious money that comes from heart and love and changing not only our own lives, but the lives of others, right? But we cannot do that, no longer do that, sacrificing ourselves, undercharging, over hustling, kind of in that masculine force energy. So I'm even working more deeply to receive, and the things that I'm doing that are working beautifully in my life. Hey Deborah, I'll check your message, I saw it come up. Is just really being the clearest channel that I can be. And that requires that I do more healing work on myself, that I just feel like all veils are coming off. I don't need to pretend anything, there's nothing to prove. There's a fierceness and gentleness, and really at the end of the day, really coming home to my own sense of divine inherent honoring. And when I do that, then I teach others to deeply honor themselves, their power, their voice, their sexuality, their sensuality, their work, their desire. And it's just, yeah. So at the end of the day, if we can let go of any feeling of shame and greed, the patriarchal system around money. A lot of us associate money with power struggles, manipulation. There's a lot of toxicity around that. But at the end of the day, money is innocent. Money is innocent, right? Money is just simply a commodity. And I believe that commodity comes from, the commodity is actually love. And then if you're ethical, which you all are, and loving and kind, and you deliver on your service, you should receive. There are trillions of dollars to be made here, right? Trillions. We live in a very incredibly abundant universe. The corruption and the greed and the manipulation, and that is absolutely present, is a toxic form of power that doesn't come from just all men. Women can get caught up in this as well, but it's usually to do with this really toxic power struggle that comes with being incredibly comes from the ego. And it usually, really harms other people. They don't care about what it does to somebody else, right? So yeah, but the shame, Eva, needs to go. It actually doesn't belong in your reality unless you allow it to. Yes, it's out there, but that's not who you are. So why poison your own ability to receive and make money and do the sacred work in the world when what you're doing radically will change people's lives? It's two different types. There's money that comes from corruption and greed and manipulation, harming people. It creates poverty, it creates wars, it creates very toxic power struggles, it creates nuclear weapons. And I think we can buy into that and feel like, oh my God, energetically, I don't want to be part of that. For me, looking back at my parents, the way that my parents were with money, I had beautiful parents, they're all great and everything, but when they were going through a divorce, there was a lot of power struggles around money. So when I was doing a lot of release work, allowing myself to release money, I had a belief within me that money creates destruction and misery. And it did in my life. But by holding on to that as a story that was just one reality that I took on as truth, and as a child, you can tend to take these things on, and that's part of the journey of healing and unraveling, and having the awareness and looking at it and go, okay, well, I had to look at mine and go, okay, so money creates chaos, and it can, but it doesn't have to. And so I looked at that and I thought, well, I'm never going to be that person. That's not, I'm going to allow myself to drop that story because that's not part of my reality any longer, and I now will allow the money in. And I had to rewire myself to even get to, say, the first 100K. Then I rewired more and did more healing work to get to 200K, 300K, and it went on and on and on. And then I remember the first time I looked at my bank account and it was close to $500,000 in PayPal. And my husband and I started laughing, like, is that really real? Like, that was interesting. And what I was doing at that point of time was just showing up and allowing the downloads that I was receiving, and I would birth my work, and I would always put a value that was commensurate with the value of my work. Remember, not the value of me, it's the value of your work and the ROI that you bring to the table when people apply the work, the content, the healing, and they really run with it. So I just kept doing the work. I just kept going and going and going, praying, doing my prayers, energetically calling for support. What do I need to release? I always, every day, even sitting here with you now, I've got a client, like really right now, I've got to go. But I throw myself in the deep end. I have fear. I half the time I don't know what I'm going to say. And I just channel and download and trust myself enough and use my courage, which comes from heart, to just speak and to release the veil, to release the fear, and just have a heart connection with you guys, my audience. And that is what guides me forward. It's how I teach, it's how I sell. I really do, like when I'm looking at people's content and their offers and everything, I look at some of them and I think, oh, they haven't spent enough time on this. I don't realize how much work I do. Hey, gorgeous Jennifer, and is that Lily? Lovely to see you here. I spend a lot of time, I kind of take it for granted. I take a lot of time to look at my offers and the modules and the content, and then how do I pass on what I've learned and then get that person to deeply understand. And one of my beautiful clients, Demby, said something that was very touching and beautiful to me the other day, and she said, it makes me almost want to cry because I worked really hard at this. Ingrid is a master teacher on many levels. I thought, you know what? I really worked for that. I've really, every day, I'm asking myself, what can I do? Like, how can I do it better? How can I pass this on? The energy, the frequency, the intent. How do, even my parents, with some of the really beautiful gifts that they did give me. They're both immigrants. My dad's Russian. Hey, Lily, my mum's Macedonian. They come from nothing. My mum was on holiday. She's Macedonian, so from former Yugoslavia. She was on holiday in France, and there was an earthquake in 1966, so they literally lost everything, went into the ground, gone. And then my dad came from World War II to Australia as a young child, and then my mum came over with nothing when she was 14. So I grew up with these very, you know, kind of fight, flight driven parents, very beautiful people, quite intense people. Hey, wonder where I got my passion from. I got that Russian blood running through my veins. But, you know, so the fight, flight, the kind of force energy, that masculine push, I've had to really work hard to release that, because that was my conditioning, and that's been interesting journey. But they're two very successful entrepreneurs now. But my parents actually started off an illegal factory under our house making wax. So my mother was a beauty therapist, and my dad worked for the government in economics and stuff like that, and they had no money, and they were broke, and they were in debt. And my grandfather, Jordan Antonov was his name, he was a cosmetic chemist. Anyway, so they would always make up potions and things like that, and my mum had this beauty salon under the house. And then one day they decided to make formulations for wax for hair removal. And my dad would, you know, come up with these concoctions under the house, and that he finally found a formula that worked. And he sometimes says, oh, we were just lucky. And yes, luck is involved, but one of my acronyms for luck is leveraging universal creative knowledge yourself. Always wanted to go to, where is that, darling? I don't know where one. Skopje, no? I think leveraging leveraging universal creative knowledge, right? That's what luck is. It's using your energy and your intent and your action and your passion and everything that you have to give to create, and therefore the luck comes to you. No, it's a heart, and I've got hearts, Robin, and goddesses behind me, no snakes. So the thing that they really taught me, though, that was so wonderful was this, I'm very deliberate, and I keep going and going, and I'm very persistent, and I follow through. And that hard work ethic, where there's a fine line, there's a line when you're working so hard and it becomes overbearing and exhausting and it's toxic, and there's a lot of force energy and fear energy, that fight flight response. Hence so many entrepreneurs and women suffer from, I think it's 80% of women suffer from adrenal fatigue, some form of chronic fatigue. And I've been there, I understand it. So I had to deeply release that from actually the age of 2, to really come back into more of a divine femme pleasure state. The masculine energy, and also that energy that I really did get also from my parents around the work ethic, is also really very important, and it served me very well. So often I see a lot of women kind of complaining about not getting ahead, or not getting sales, or not selling, or whatever. But really, if you look at it, there's usually a lack of responsibility. There's a lack of really, it's not that you know, trying isn't enough, working hard isn't enough. You really have to sit with yourself and look at, well, what are my offers? How am I positioning it? How am I selling it? How am I showing up? Have I really given it this time? Oh, that's in Yugoslavia, a place where your mother is from. Oh, beautiful. I don't know that place. And yeah, I do have a YouTube channel. So all my live streams, by the way, go up to YouTube, and they also go out to my list. That's how I can create content and not have to write massive emails and things like that, which I teach all my students to do. So guys, that's what I just wanted to share today. The new era, though, really bringing it back to the core message, is the new femme era. Allow yourself to receive, allow yourself to make money. Because the work that you have to do requires that you are spiritually, emotionally, financially, and of course physically sustained and nourished. Okay? So that corruption and the greed, and if you want to go back and listen to that, I talked about the 2 types of, you know, there's destructive toxic power that tries to manipulate and overtake. It comes from ego and fear, and it destroys, it creates wars, it creates famine. Then there's the other power, and that power of the femme and conscious power is about we, it's collective. It's about how do I serve myself? How do I serve my family? How do I serve my community? And it's beautiful, and it's one of the most magical, majestic powers of the world. So allow yourself to be part of that, because we collectively need you to be part of that rising. So I believe that the women of the world will create radical healing in this planet, but we will only do it from a place of wholeness and nourishment of ourselves. Apparitions of Mary, and I read this book about it, very, very interesting. You'll have to ask your mother about it. Absolutely, I will. So guys, I'm sending you lots of love. I better go and have, thank you, Robin. I appreciate that. I think the whole thing was speaking, and I love to teach it too, but the biggest thing someone was asking me about it is to, you know, practice and start doing it, and you'll get better and better and better. And to know that you're the diva, which stands for divinity, you're divine. We need to hear you. You deserve to be heard. A really beautiful part of that is before other people will see you, you have to give yourself permission to be seen, and you have to start by learning to see yourself as sacred. That you have so much to share, and giving yourself permission to be seen, starting by seeing yourself. Mwah. Blessings. Bye.